and of course I need to have foreknowledge, right, because we'll probably have to and of course I need to have foreknowledge, right, because we'll probably have to close the floor, for a couple of days while they do the project and all of that stuff too. So just waiting, and they asked me when was, and then there's no, like, when's the best time? I'm like, when it's not school vacation week, like that just is basically, any other time we can make it work as long as I know, when it's gonna happen. So, poking, it's the consistent poking that has happened, with that, so.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, it's what you gotta do, some poking. Any other questions? There's a little smiling. People are smiling over there. And then otherwise, it's, I don't want to say it's quiet, but it's kind of like in that interesting period of time where schools, everybody's gotten back into the swing of their lives with school and everything, and so then the holidays come up and everything. But the friends, did I put this one in here? I don't
You
think I
did.
put
I
it
just
in.
added it to my calendar.
The other thing that's happening actually tomorrow night, if anybody happens to be around, is Mean Girls is gonna happen at the high school, and so they're having like a little pre-show at the library tomorrow night. It's like, so Mean Girls, the musical, is gonna be at the high school, and so they're gonna have little selections from the show performed tomorrow night at the library, and they're also gonna have the NAN Project, who is all about, they're an organization that does peer counseling for kids, and they also, suicide prevention and stuff like that. So they're going to intersperse some of the selections with some speakers from the NAN Project as well. So kind of, so it's a really nice idea. Like it's the first time the Friends are doing something kind of like at this level. So I think it's like a really cool idea, and I'm sure they'll have a good time. Like not a lot of people have signed up, but I think a lot of people are just going to show up, because all the kids and all their friends will come and the parents, and there'll be a lot of people there in the end. So that's going to be cool, really, tomorrow night. That's going to be great. It is, I think it's 6:30, which we're going to have to look, but I think that's right. So that's like great. And otherwise, just the regular, just all the regular stuff.
Noel, when is this to start, the program, Mean Girl?
So at the high school?
No.
Or
at
just
the
like,
library.
it's going to be tomorrow. I think it's 6:30. I believe it's 6:30.
Okay.
I believe that's correct. Any other questions? Things? No. Yes, otherwise it's been I guess normal. As whatever normal there is, it's kind of, has been normal.
Okay, so we can move on to new business. And you all have this in your folder, the Peabody Institute Library of Danvers. So those of us who were on this little subcommittee met, and has everyone had a chance to read it? I'll give you a few moments to go over that.
Are you talking old business?
No.
Yeah,
New
old
now.
business.
Or
Yeah,
no, it's old
no,
business.
it's old business.
Under old business.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
under,
I'm sorry.
It is old business.
Sorry, we're still under old business. A, tuition reimbursement / scholarships subcommittee report.
Okay, so we wanted to rename it. We didn't really want it to be a tuition reimbursement. We'd rather it be a scholarship. We want to do more for the employees of the library, make it a more positive work environment for them. And if they do want to move on to get their master's, and there really isn't another program they can be in. There's not just courses they can take at a local college. It pretty much is a Master's of Library Science is what they'd be getting at this point in their career. So we kept it as the scholarship policy of MLS courses. So people working on their master's or working towards their master's, regardless of how quickly or slowly they're doing that. We wanted to make it more of a scholarship and give it up front. We'll have an application that they'll need to submit. Why was this yellow?
I don't know. That was what it showed up as in the thing you sent me.
Oh, did I? Did I highlighted that? Okay. I don't remember what I do from day to day. Okay, perfect. That's perfect. So one of the things we wanted to do was to keep it you know, to help make the library a better place to work, was give them something, and a lot of libraries have programs like this, we didn't, so we wanted to do that for our employees. So if they do want to move ahead in the field, we're going to help them do that by giving out scholarships. We didn't limit it to a specific number. We just have a number per year that we want to decide on, and we'll decide when we get the applications how much we're going to fund. We also lowered it from 1 year to 6 months. And we'll gift up to 50% of the tuition costs, and again, that will be made apparent in the application. We'll see what they're putting out and where they're taking the courses. Most of them are online now. So, and there's many different programs they can take, but we'll see all of that with the application that comes in. One of the things for when we decide to give the scholarship, to keep it fair, we had talked about, none of this is set in stone. We're bringing it to the committee tonight to see if anybody else has any input. We wanted anything taken out that we could possibly, if we had a problem with a specific employee, a particular person on the committee, we wanted anything omitted that would make it personal. We just want the course, how long the person's been with us, and how relevant it is to the job, to see if that's something we want to fund for them. So that's what was highlighted here. And you can just see that we'll just be calling them applicant 1 or applicant 2 instead of using their names, so that it's more fair.
Yeah, part of the application obviously is, you know, they have to be in good standing with the library as an employee. So that would be vetted as well through the application
Right,
process. So
right.
it's also because we are a public meeting, we don't want to, these are people's personal
Exactly. We
information,
can't
so
be
you don't want to.
giving, names out to the public.
So.
Yeah. So, has everyone read through this? Does anyone have any comments?
So there's no cap on how much money per
We don't.
staff member?
No. Because some people will be taking more courses. Some people want to get through their master's fairly quickly. Other people are just taking maybe a program every other semester.
And so there's no cap on per year how much
No.
to spend on this?
Well, no, we discussed a cap, a general cap
Mm-hmm.
for spending on the scholarship program, but we decided to leave it open-ended as to how much one person, for example, could, to be able to be flexible with demand. If there's only one person applying every year, there's no reason why we can't help them more if we are allocating this amount of money. Whereas if it turned out there were many applicants, they would receive much less in each of them. So we left a lot of it open-ended so that the board could make decisions without it being in violation of our policy.
So should the cap be in here at least?
We need to discuss it still.
Yeah, we didn't have it's about an amount, but we didn't.
Well,
We haven't.
I think hearing
Yes.
what they said tonight was a good indicator that we don't want more than 5% taken out a year with everything,
Everything.
so that sort of caps us on how much we can actually give out after everything the library gets. In
Mhm.
general, we only have an amount left that we need to work with. So
Right.
I think that would, some sort of language in there, so that we're not bleeding this dry.
Definitely a cap on annual spending on the scholarship
Yeah.
program.
And yeah, so that might be a better way to do it, is a percentage of what we have instead of a dollar amount.
Well, it
I would
can't be
suggest
a
a dollar amount.
Yeah, it can't be a percentage because we don't know what our other expenses are going to be per month. So it can't be a percentage. It's going to have to be a dollar amount and stick to that dollar amount. And then my only other concern going forward is seeming like we're being arbitrary or a little bit capricious with the amounts that each person is getting, even though there's no indicator on who the person would be. I just worry about any potential of seeming like, some person might not be getting as much as another. I don't know. I get, so I guess I'm wondering how you keep with not knowing, how are we gonna know that the same employee isn't getting, say we get more, right?
More employees.
Applications in,
Mm-hmm.
and we're reaching our limit of spending. The whole idea was that we were going to be even with people and not have one person getting more courses paid for. So how would you, what is the mechanism in case that
It would be in
happens?
the application.
So that's why we made 2 application deadlines throughout the year. So say we allocate $20,000 for the scholarship program. It would be, we have $10,000 to allocate after all the applications come in on May 1st, and then $10,000 more to allocate after all the applications come in on November 1st. And it would be up to us collectively as a board to decide how to allocate that money, or if to allocate up to that cap based on the applications that we have. So if there's only one applicant and they are deserving and we have the money to spend, then we can discuss that as a board. That's why the scholarship framework, I think, is so beneficial to everybody, because the fact is that it's a scholarship that's capped at this much, and we make our collective decision about how to equitably distribute that on a twice annual basis.
And we can also do in the application, because that's something that we haven't even discussed, on what's going to be on the application is like, okay, how many times have you received money from the board? You can put that in the application so that as part of our review, we can see that number.
Right, I
not
think there
necessarily the
needs to be
person's
some,
name,
there
but
has
just-
to be some tracking, there has to be some way to track, I
Yeah.
think.
So that if we do get like 5 applications,
Right.
we're like, okay, you've already gotten money this year.
Right, well, that,
We're going to
right,
go to everybody else before.
Yeah.
we go
right,
to
yeah,
you.
there's gotta be some way to track that.
Sure.
And that we can do, but as long as we've got the money, we just wanted it to
But-
be more of a positive thing for the employees, rather than, this is the limit, this is all you can do. And the reality is, many of our employees already have their masters in library science, so there's really not that many people that are gonna be, that are gonna be applying for the Masters of Library Science programs. So I don't think that's ever gonna be an issue where we're gonna have too many people applying. It may come up, but again, if we've got the cap, then it's up to us to decide how we're gonna divvy the money up and who we're gonna give it to.
And I can say that as of right now, I know of 2 people who can apply for this, and there is a potential 3rd one that could be coming.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And it'll just keep our people at educated.
One thing that I would like to ask you, Noelle, and maybe we'll need some time to go back and take a look, but if we could account for all the other miscellaneous spending in the withdrawals from the financial advisors.
That's
Yeah.
usually that last.
That's in
Yeah.
the
page, like
packets.
Oh.
that there.
But I mean, like, I guess without going through each month by month, like if we could
We could get a summary,
get a
maybe?
summary of the year,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I can see what Ginny can pull together, because I said, like, usually it's mostly archive, let's like, it'll be like archives, professional development, programs, and then usually anything that's sort of, some sundries kind of thing. So if we're paying for some, food for an event or something like that, like some things like that, will come out of there. But I mean, it's one of those things, like, it adds up over time. It's usually never a ton, but like, but we also will pay for, Bob Gimon's, fees out of that stock of money, like all of that kind of stuff.
yeah, I mean, it's just I haven't been here long enough to really
Yeah.
understand like how those things came to be designated as expenses that come out of the trustees fund as opposed to, I'm just curious
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. For the most part, I mean, from what I know, and I don't know,
Like the
Like
archives and
if like Natalie or Julie or Rini, who've been here longer, might remember, for some reason, and I don't know why, I don't know the reasoning of this, like the $20,000, like that they were kind of mentioning, was like the number that was kind of set upon as, here's money that the trustees are giving for whatever uses that the library needs.
Which is in the
per year.
budget.
Yeah, which
Which
is
is
so,
in the
yeah,
budget
so
form.
like, and so yeah, part of our budget is to be like, there's $20,000 that we're counting on, quote unquote, from the trust fund. Like most libraries don't have a trust fund, or other extra monies like that, so a lot of times things like my old library, all of the program money that we got for any programs came from the Friends of the Library. So they paid for like museum passes and all the programming, so that we can have programming come from another source is like amazing, right? Because it's great to not have to worry about it, because you get a lot of limits. And so some things like that you don't have to worry about so much was that, I think, again, I wasn't here when that number was decided on. I don't know how that number got decided in the first place, but it is like a nice sum. But when I first came and I was meeting with our old bookkeeper, Sue Contos, she was saying at the time that usually we used under the 20,000, like we weren't using 20,000, we were using maybe 14,000 or 12,000 or something like that. So it wasn't actually that we were expending it most of the time. And then, it's just been that very recently that we revived this tuition reimbursement policy that's coming out of there as well, so.
So that's what pushed it from 20,000 to 33.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're not doing any other new spending. And generally, like anything that's a bigger, because if I wanted to have something that was going to be beyond that 20, I would come and ask, right, and say like, hey, can we have extra money for something, right? Otherwise, I take money out of state aid for projects or whatever. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So, like I said, we do need to develop an application for this. But does anyone have any questions on what was submitted or what you just received?
I asked my question, so I'm all set.
And I'll just read it. So you're saying the board may gift up to 50%, but it could be less depending on what you have.
So
for
the
money,
expectation would
right?
be that you're applying for a scholarship that could be
So it could be $1,000, it could be $5,000. You don't know,
Yeah.
depending on what's available. For
but
money.
not more than 50% of the cost of the course.
Okay.
We talked about, ensuring that we would be gaining serious applicants who had their own vested interest and weren't just going to sign up for classes because they were free, for example. That's not,
And my other question about this too, it doesn't specifically say, is so say somebody's taking 2 classes simultaneously. Is it like for one? Is it a one course that they're getting money for? Is it like if they're taking a couple at the same time? Does it matter? I guess.
I don't
No.
think.
So it's just like that one, whatever it is for that period of time that they're taking is what they can apply for. Okay.
And if no one else is applying and we've got the funds, we might do 50% of all of the classes that they're applying for. If we've got multiple people and we're getting a little thin, we might do 30-40%, or we might do people that haven't received scholarships. It'll just be very dependent on who's applying and how many people.
I mean,
yeah, go
the language of how much definitely needs to be in here before we take any vote on
Oh,
this.
for sure. I actually
Okay.
was going to suggest that the ad hoc committee ought to reconvene to reconsider, given a lot of the information that was shared tonight, and then we can potentially put this to a vote at our next meeting. Or
My one other question, I know in the old policy that if a person was full-time or part-time
Yeah.
mattered, like how much they might, percentage
Yes.
of that, is that still gonna?
yeah, well, I mean, we did discuss that, and
Okay, so it's not-
I
it's
think
not-
we
it
all
doesn't
were
look
in
like it's in
agreement that
there,
it ought
but
to be
yeah.
taken into consideration, but I don't think it made it into the language.
Okay, yeah, that was just my only other question,
Yeah.
was if they are part-time, would they get, if they work 20 hours, are they gonna get half as much, that kind of thing, if there's the percentages that are gonna come into play if they're part-time versus full-time.
So my only other question was, in doing your research, what libraries contributed to the education of the staff members out of their budget? So, in other words, libraries that don't have trust funds, they have a line item in their budget that
Some do.
okay.
So that's actually a good question that I'm not sure of the answer to.
No,
I mean, I know a
Mhm.
variety of libraries. There are some libraries that do, will reimburse people fully, like 100% for courses they take. I know like Andover is one of them. But I'm actually not sure where their money comes from that they're reimbursing for. But a lot of the libraries I know that do it tend to be from wealthier communities who do have some kind of endowment sort of fund or trust fund of some kind.
So so libraries comparable to ours, or from a city like a Salem or a Peabody or whatever, they do not reimburse their staff?
It's much rarer to find. Yeah, it's rarer to find that. And mostly it's because they don't have some kind of fund that they can pull from that money from. So like they might pay for professional development, like the classes or something like that, like one-off workshops or things like that, but they're less likely to reimburse for the MLS, mostly just because they don't have the funding for it.
So historically, our professional development it was more for a conference, not for a class, for the staff.
Well, interestingly, right, because the policy that we had approved a couple of years ago, that was actually a 30-year-old policy for MLS classes, so people taking MLS classes, but it was just the $1,000 because that was the times, right? So interestingly, the reimbursement policy here has been in place for MLS courses specifically, and then other professional development. Like our professional development fund is not this, right? Like, so this is separate than professional development for conferences and things like that. So see them as two different tracks kind of thing.
So does the professional development budget get used completely every year for professional development? Or is there
Yes.
ever any money left over that could go towards?
So what we've been doing with the so we've been mostly having the professional development fund coming out of our state aid money. And so what we kind of started doing, because prior to this, previous directors were using it more for themselves and not for the staff, we'll just say. So the staff was not able to use it. So what my thing has been going since then is just like to see how much, now that they're aware of it and they can use it, I've just been letting them use it as much as they want to see how much I'm actually spending on the professional development. So we have been using it up. Last year we used it up, and then I think we went over last year, and then this year we should also be on track to go over it again. So I wanted to be able to set a more realistic budget once I saw how much we were using of it. So yes, we are using it, which is a good thing. It's a great thing.
Okay.
So people are feeling like they can go and get to professional development, and go to conferences and things. And I pay for their memberships and professional organizations with it as well.
And we're just really fortunate that we have this money, and this is something we can do for the employees. So, I'm all in favor of it. Hopefully we'll get more employees staying longer because of how they're being treated.
All right, so I'll get with the committee and we'll pick another day. We'll add these items into it. And also, because there weren't a lot of scholarships, so we're gonna have to create an application. Because we did look and there weren't many libraries doing this type of thing. So we're gonna have to look at generic applications and then change or add what we want to those. So we can discuss that with the next meeting, our ad hoc meeting. Okay, any other questions about the fund?
I'll just ask you, I'm just being nitpicky now, but when you're saying the applications for May and November, do we have a date as far, is it like May 1st and November 1st, or are we like May 15th and November 15th? Do
We were
have-
hoping to chat with you.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
'cause
we
we
had
looked at that
suggested
one.
May 1st and November 1st, but we were looking
Yeah.
for your input as well.
Okay.
And you
yeah,
thought
yeah.
those months would work?
Yeah, I thought,
well,
we kind of talked
as we
about
did,
it
yeah,
to
we-
a degree, and I just I looked at a bunch of library school programs, like when because you should have an idea, right, the end of any given semester about
Yes.
following semester and
Right.
what you want to take. So in May, you should know about,
We will definitely add
September.
more specificity to the language
Okay.
for the next
Okay.
draft.
All right. Just so I know when I have to tell people, get your application in.
Yeah, well, we'll get that.
Thank you for your note taking.
And where are we now?
New business.
No, I was thinking
No,
the
it's
date,
November,
'cause I know
November
we've
now,
got
but
people
but
working
we're,
on
we're not
programs
we're not
now.
approved for.
No,
yeah,
I
so
know,
we can't do anything
No,
in
I
May.
was, my brain went off on what about the people in between here? We'll deal with that. Okay, so any new business?
Nope.
No? Okay, and, then
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I
Thank
second it.
you. Second, okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Motion moves, thank you.
Can I,
So everybody remember to put your names back in your folders and I'll need your folders
Yes, ma'am.
back.
okay, are we offline now?
Not yet.
I don't know.
They probably haven't even noticed.